Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Allie, and today's program is going to be about some of my favorite Black astronauts. So, this is in honor of Black History Month. We're celebrating that as a system, DC Public Library. So, this is just one in a series of activities and programs that you're going to find. So, before I get our presentation started today, please be sure to check out dclibrary.org/Black History to find some of the other really cool stuff that people are doing for this month. So, without any further ado, let's get into the presentation. Okay, everybody, so here's the presentation that I made for Black History Month called To the Stars. So I wanted to make this because one of my favorite things to do for Black History Month is to focus especially on inventors, scientists, like some of the really incredible things that have come out of the Black community. So this doesn't mean just, historical folks, but it also means people who are doing really incredible stuff today. So with that in mind, I wanted to focus on two of my favorite Black astronauts. All right, so I'm willing to bet that you may have a guess as to who they are, but just in case you don't, the first one, as always, is going to have to be Mae Jemison. She is the first Black female astronaut in the history of America. She is amazing. So, and her career didn't end at NASA. She's done a lot of really incredible stuff since retiring from there in the early 90s. So the next slide will have some fast facts about her. So, like I mentioned, she retired from NASA in 1993. She was born October 17th, 1956, and she studied in her undergraduate career chemical engineering and African American studies, and then she went on to get a PhD in medicine. And like I mentioned already, she's the first Black woman to travel into space, and her milestone mission was STS-47S. She was a mission specialist on board the Space Shuttle Endeavour in 1992. So her retirement was pretty shortly after that, but she has gone on, I should say, to do some really incredible stuff in the private sector. So there are a lot of resources out there, especially in DC Public Library's collections, about what she's done since then. We even have some books that she's authored for children and for adults about what her work has been since then. But my personal favorite thing is that she is an advocate for STEM education, including agricultural sciences and engineering. She's really, really an incredible person, and if you don't already know about her, please, please, please use some of our resources and look her up. So I mentioned that I have two favorite Black astronauts. The next one I think you're probably familiar with too, and that's Leland Melvin. Oh my goodness. So he kind of came to like a little bit more prominence once this picture of him went viral. This is him with his two dogs. And this is how I learned about him too, but really once I started like learning more about him, I discovered that he's really an incredible person as well. So once again, some fast facts for you. So he was born February 15th, 1964. So he studied chemistry and material science engineering, and before he applied to be an astronaut at NASA, he actually was drafted into the NFL for the Detroit Lions. So as a Michigan person, obviously I love that. Now, unfortunately, his NFL career ended kind of quickly, but after that was when he was successfully chosen to go on to become a NASA astronaut. So his milestone mission was STS-122 Atlantis, where he visited the International Space Station and helped install the Columbus Laboratory. So he's a little bit more recent. He actually retired from NASA in 2014, and these days he's actually local to us, living in Virginia, and he is an advocate for STEAM education, and he's actually a wonderful photographer as well. So one of my favorite books about him is actually his autobiography, called Chasing Space. There is both an adult version and a young reader's version. If you get the chance, please check it out. His story is really incredible and his voice is wonderful too. So, in honor of these two astronauts, let's think about what it might be like to go to space. So you have to think that an astronaut's daily life is going to look a lot different than ours. So this is a really good chance to kind of think about that. So what do you think would happen if you went to space? Like, what kinds of things would you need in order to be comfortable up there or to do work on experiments up there? there's a lot of other questions out there that you could try asking yourself, but it's really important to remember that one of the things that makes astronaut work so incredible is that it is way beyond what we think about it. Like, there's so many different things that you have to think about in order to survive up in space and to be comfortable in space. So with that in mind, today's activity is actually a game that we can play about what it's like to try and grow plants in space. So for this, there's a couple of things that you're going to need. So for starters, you're going to need a deck of playing cards. You'll need some tokens, and I just mean like pennies or buttons or similar like small items. And then I made 2 printables for you to use to play this game. You can find them in the description box below, but we have asset cards, and then we have a how to play printable as well, describing the rules of the game. But basically, I developed this based on a partnership between 4-H and NASA, which was originally the Mars Base Camp, but it's about how you would grow plants in space. So a couple of questions to kind of get you started too while you play this game are, what kinds of things would you need to grow plants in space? Like, even before space, what do you think plants would need to survive? And where and how do plants grow on Earth? And how do you think that that would have to change in order to grow successfully in space? So again, you don't have to tell me the answer, but it's a really fun way to think about some of the ways that science has to happen up in space, right? Okay, so I mentioned a little bit earlier that we have some resources, so here is a short list of some of the great stuff that we have. So for books, I mentioned Chasing Space by Leland Melvin. Mae Jemison's autobiography is called Find Where the Wind Goes. I'm going to recommend that for anybody. We have a couple of copies in the system, so please make sure to check that out. And then videos, we have access to Canopy Kids with your library card. So if you head there via dclibrary.org's website, there are a lot of movies and shows about space and about space science. And then finally, one more time, please be sure to visit dclibrary.org/Black History for more resources and activities for Black History Month. So with that, that's into the presentation. I'll see you on the other side. All right, so that's all for the presentation today. Like I said, these are only 2 Black astronauts in the history of NASA, but these 2 are my favorite for, I hope, obvious reasons. But you can find a lot of other resources, including some of the ones that I listed again on dclibrary.org/Black History. Okay, and as always, you can always check out our catalog and a lot of our digital resources too for more information, videos, games, puzzles, a lot of really cool stuff, like especially focusing on these incredible people. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy the activity too. Please be sure to check out the link in the description box below for the printables that go along with the game. And with all of that, thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you all next time.